I'd like to call upon Tzipi, Hotovely, the Deputy Foreign Minister, a great friend of the sovereignty movement, to grant Caroline Glick the Medal of Sovereignty. She has been one of the flag bearers of sovereignty in Israel and the world and has courageously fought this battle with determination. Tzipi, Hotovely, and Caroline Glick are both invited to come up on stage for the awarding of the medal. Caroline will speak at the panel, and we'll hear from her then. People walk by. It is a great honor to give this sovereignty medal to Caroline, and we cannot ignore that this is a women's revolution. Nadia Matar and Judith Katzofer, who deserve a lot of applause. You are like the women in the Exodus who prepared the drums, who said, we will not make do with a small redemption. We will believe that the sea will part and we will reach the promised land. And I promise you, you will be invited to the Knesset on the day the Knesset will pass the law to apply sovereignty to Judea and Samaria. This medal is awarded to Caroline for breaking a taboo. One of the hardest things to do in the political world in which we live is to break a paradigm, to get out of the box, and to talk and say what everyone is afraid to say. This conference is about the courage of the people of Israel to stop hesitating and stop stammering and say the land of Israel belongs to the people of Israel. Judea and Samaria are part of the land of Israel and the state of Israel. This story of breaking taboos didn't only start with us. The idea of the Palestinian state was a surreal idea that was rejected by both political camps in Israel. In the early 1990s, the political controversy in Israel, I know it's difficult to believe it because we've become so used to this formula, the conflict between the Labour Party and the Likud was not for and against a Palestinian state. It was the Labour wanted territorial concession to Jordan, and the Likud said that the right solution is autonomy. Both camps completely rejected the idea of a Palestinian state. They all understood that between the Mediterranean and the Jordan, the idea of the land of Israel that had already been divided between the east of the Jordan and the west of the Jordan, that tiny little land that we were given, that it would have to undergo another partition, that this was not a logical idea. What happened? They broke a taboo. They started to talk about it, and they started to talk about it in the world. And so, slowly but surely, that idea became the only idea on the political table, as if there are no other options. Some people think that after 25 years of this idea failing, it's time to talk about new ideas. But before we talk about the new ideas, I would like to say what we lost in the years in which we didn't dare to demand sovereignty, and everything we did was to move ahead on that slow but sure path of Mapai, of the old Labour Party. We lost justice, we lost truth, we lost the Israeli story. In those years when we said to the world, look, we'll resolve it, we can compromise, we are a peace-loving people, which is true, and during those years we were not concerned with fighting for Israeli justice. And those who don't believe in the right of Israel to live in Shiloh and Eli and Hebron, and certainly to build in Jerusalem, they don't have anything. What are they doing in Tel Aviv and in Rishon LeZion and anywhere else? These years when we lost that Israeli story, those are years when we learned the hard way, and most of the people of Israel learned the hard way, that we cannot divide the land. Those are the years when we experienced terrible things, including the decision to uproot Gush Katif, and instead of it, the terrible Gaza terror state was born, and which is bad for Israel and for the Palestinians. And I think we can all today can call on the Prime Minister. I met with the Prime Minister on Wednesday, and I said to him, your political base demands sovereignty. Your political base is not going to make do with construction. It demands that you apply Israeli law. It can be done gradually. I believe that we can move ahead in phases. We can do it Greater Jerusalem and strengthen Jerusalem first of all from all sides. Gush Amunim, Beitar Illit, Givat Ze'ev, Ma'ale Adumim. We can start there, and the strength of Jerusalem can radiate so that we can apply sovereignty over all of Judea and Samaria, so that we are the sovereigns in all of the land of Israel. But in order to do that, we need courage and unity among our political parties and movements. We don't have to compete who is more right-wing. We need to unite and to call in unison, because we represent 500,000 people that want Israeli law to be applied to them. They don't want to be citizens in a military government under a civil administration. The ones who are under occupation are the settlers, and that occupation must be stopped, must be concluded. And if you want civil administration, you need to build, and we want Israeli law to be applied so that we never have to face any more painful uprootings like Amona. But if we get back to the point, the Prime Minister is going to Washington tomorrow. There is a large public that believes in him, that placed him on the chair, because that is why he has the power now. Iran is important, the situation in the north is important, but history is calling us to say the Israeli truth and tell the world why we're here. We're here because the moment we feel that we can say our truth, everything that happens around us will get into a pathway of stability. We need stability in this turbulent area that is falling apart, and I believe that if we give the Prime Minister the strength through this conference, which ultimately is a positive conference, for the first time we're saying what we want, not what we don't want. And that big yes that's coming from here, from Jerusalem, from the capital, will reverberate until all the way to distant Jerusalem, together with the ministers who are saying we want sovereignty. And good for Caroline Glick, who wrote these things, who wrote a book, who represents this position in English and in Hebrew, and who's not afraid to say this truth, and who's not afraid to stand behind these things that frighten some people. There were people who were afraid in the beginning of Zionists too. And there's a famous saying that the British commando said, and then the Israeli Sayeret Matkanta, those who dare succeed will succeed.